Hello, guys. Once again, welcome to the Young African Hustlers channel. On this channel, we talk about ways that young people in Africa who are willing to hustle use their intellectual mind to be able to build wealth for themselves, for their next generation, and for their community. And that is what we talk about here. And we try to dig into the problem, explain the terminology, the economics behind it. Let's put the politics aside, because you and I have already agreed and come to an understanding that our politicians are not for us. And therefore, we need to put our intellectual mindset, the tools that we have around us or in our hands, the level playing field that the internet has given to all of us to be able to educate ourselves and build the next generation of wealth. Because that one-time billionaire thing happens for just about 1% of people, and mostly not even in our continent. And therefore, we need to stand up, we need to start thinking, we need to start acting, and really building the generational wealth that we see on television, that we see other people living for ourselves. And therefore, if this is a channel that you will want to continue watching me brag about, what I think, my opinion on topics, my understanding on topics and terminologies and the economy, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because as raw as it is, I'm going to be sharing with you guys what my opinions are on why we're going through situations like this in the world, in Africa, and what you can do about it. Today, I want to touch on a topic that is very crucial and most of you have been wondering about and be talking about, which is prices of things are increasing massively in Africa. Everybody is talking about it, not just in Africa, but I'm focusing in Africa and in most of the developing countries, because our systems doesn't work, our structures doesn't support us, and therefore we need to better understand it and find out the best ways to navigate and the opportunities that it presents to us, especially we the youth that have a lot of tools in our hands now, that has also time on our hand to be able to do more than our predecessors did, right? And therefore, the topic around the increase of prices in Ghana specifically is crazy. Yesterday, there was a whole news about actually the increase of oil in Ghana, shooting from a gallon of, I think, 500 cedis to about 1,000 cedis. And then retailers actually add an extra 200 cedis, 300 cedis on it. And I'm sure wherever you are, I was in the US about a week ago, and I was in Walmart, and I literally saw them pulling the prices at night as I was shopping. Next morning, they're going to slump it with another, price list. And that is what is happening. It's happening all over the world. And it's not unique to just Africa or to developing countries, but we are facing it more. And what that is inflation. And therefore today, if you're young, I know you've been blaming your president, you've been blaming your government. Yes, they have a role to play, but I want you to put that aside and let's focus on what this means. How did we come here, and how that is going to affect our life, and how we can take opportunity of this situation. So the world inflation, what does this means? Basically, what inflation means is increase or rising in prices. So let's say you bought an oil last month for $10. Today the price of the oil is what? $12, $15. That means that there has been an increase in price, and therefore, if that continues for a consecutive time, that means that the economy or the country is going through an inflation, right? So the increases in price, and this has happened over and over in different countries, in different economies, and it is happening now. Wherever you are and you're watching me, I know you're feeling it. Right. But what are the types of inflation? That's what I want to take you guys through. So number one is the cost push inflation. What does this mean? These can be found in the production sector. It can be found in the service sector, and what I also call the capital sector. So let's look at the production sector. So cost push inflation is basically when in the production sector is when prices of raw materials increases. And when those raw materials increases, that means that it increases the production. And what happens is that then the producer pushes the cost of the increase in raw materials to you, the consumer who is buying it. And that's why it's called cost push inflation, right? So in the production sector, let's say I manufactured let's say what do I even use? Let's say clothes, and the price, the raw material, which is cotton, which is used in producing this clothes, increases. If that increases, that means that I have to increase the price of this shirt, and therefore you, the consumer that is buying it, will have to pay more for this shirt. So yesterday, if you paid $10 for this shirt, now you're going to be paying maybe 15, depending on the rate of the increase, right? And that is what is called that's what's called cost push inflation. The second part is in the service industry. So in a time where workers are well organized into, good and strong union, they can decide to increase ask for more money, basically ask their bosses, government, to increase their salary. When that happens, again, there is inflation in that service, right, of workers. So they will be asking for more pay. And then once again, even in technical skills like plumbing, like driving, like carpentry, if we have more and more people moving away from the technical skills, as we can already see in Africa, and going into white collar job, therefore there is low supply of those skills, and therefore the few that has it can now start increasing their prices. So let's say if a mechanic repairs your brake and he's charging you 5 cedis or $5 in the next 5 years, because the demand for that job, or the supply for that job, actually, because it's from the mechanics, the supply for that job has decreased because everybody's going to university, everybody's going to free high school, and therefore they don't enter into these special or technical sort of skills. That means that their prices are also going to raise, and all that contributes in the service market. The third part of it is sort of on the capital side, which is like land, right? So for example, in the capital where people are buying more land, right, factories are coming in, there's a lot of development, there is a constraint on the land. So again, the demand for land then would increase, and therefore if you own a land there, the prices will increase, and therefore if that happens consecutively, it can cause inflation again from that angle, right? So the second type, so these are all under the cost push inflation, which is push to you who is buying, or to the customer, right? The second part of inflation, or the second type of inflation, is the demand inflation, which is very straightforward inflation, which is basically when demand exceeds supply, which could be a good thing, because what does that mean? That means that there are more people who are interested, or there are more people who have money to spend, right? And if more people have money, what do we do with money? We spend it, whether we spend it on luxurious goods, whether we spend it on assets, whether we spend it on liability. We have money and we are ready to spend it. And that expenditure creates the demand inflation. So what does that mean? Let me give you a couple of causes of that. So how do people get more money? Let's say the government cut down interest rates. So you go to the bank, you want to borrow money, they tell you, if you borrow money, your interest rate is 0.4. In Africa now, you're looking at in your 20s, right? Depending on where you are. So it's very expensive for us to borrow money, and therefore we don't have enough money. But if the government reduces interest rate, that means that money is cheap and everybody can go to the bank, borrow money and put it in their business. So I bet you watching me, you can think of a business that actually can make you 20-30% profit. And if you can think of one, then it makes sense for you to go to a bank and borrow money at 1% interest rate and bring it into your business, start it, and be able to make a profit of 20% and pay the bank 1% of it. That sounds like a good deal, right? So if that happens, people get a lot of money, and when they get money, then they spend it. So low interest rate could cause the demand type of inflation, because people have money and then they are willing to spend. And when people have money and spending, but then the supply of that goods production is not increasing, then there is demand on that goods, and it can start causing the price of that goods to increase, which is basic economics that everybody know. Even your local market woman sitting in the market knows that when 10 people comes to ask of the same thing, that means he has to increase his price, right? And you can blame this on your government, but on this channel, we're going to put the government aside and talk about economics, talk about the real reason behind what is happening in Ghana and in Africa as well. And I think that is very important, right? The second aspect to what can cause demand inflation is the cut of taxes. So people buy things and they pay 10% of tax. That's money taken out of people's pocket. The government comes and says, I want to cut down tax. So for example, the government cut down like tolls on the road, I think about a year or two ago. That means that drivers will have more money in their pocket. Because if you're driving from Accra to the north and you pay 10 tolls and each is 10 cedis, that's 100 cedis for you. Now you have that 100 cedis in your pocket. When you have money, what do? You spend. And therefore, what is that driver going to do? He's going to buy, street food. He's going to go to a good restaurant and eat fufu. He's going to do this. He's going to do that, right? And that's what is really going to impact or cause the demand inflation, because we have money, and then what do? We spend. And that's what we do when we have money. The third reason that can cause demand inflation, if it's the government actually start pumping money into the system. So through government borrowing, right? Government can borrow money, bring it in, pump it into the system. There is more money in the system. What does that mean? That means that people now will get money to also spend, right? So that is what brings about demand inflation. The last type of inflation or causes of inflation could be government printing more money. I know about 2 years ago, the Ghana government printed 2 more notes, the 100 cedis notes, the 200 cedis notes, right? So as government prints more money, a lot of money comes into the system, and this money is chasing, even though we have more money and we feel rich, we are chasing the same goods, right? So let's say if it's mobile phone that people are interested in buying, our cedis or our currency is available and it's chasing just mobile phone, right? So at some point, even though we have more money, if the production of mobile phone is not increasing, then what is basically happening is there will be no value, because mobile phone is going to increase because there is demand for it, but your money is huge, but you can't buy it even though you have more of it. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? So that could also cause inflation. Telling you about all this, right? You're asking me, yes, but it's here. How do we take opportunity of that? Right, I think there is 2 ways that I look at it. So for example, I'll take Ghana for example, because I'm in Ghana. There was a time that the government was borrowing a lot of money. It started free education. It awarded a lot of road contracts, right? And this is just one example out of many, and different things that I do. And it was borrowing billions of dollars into the country, pegging it with bonds and all that. And what that was creating was that was bringing a lot of money into the system. But what we weren't doing much of was producing enough to be able to meet the spending. So there is demand because people have money, but there is no increase in supply, right? So all the money that's coming into Ghana, yeah, you might think it's going to politicians, it's going to the rich, it's going to the people at top. But the people at top, they don't chew money. They will come and buy from farmers. They will come and buy from producers. They will come and buy from car rentals, car sellers, all these people. So no matter what, the money is going to trickle down. And when it trickles down, it's going to end up in the farmer's pocket, in the seller's pocket, in whoever's pocket. He's also going to sell as well. And that is what basically it happens. So that was going on for a while. And to me, I knew that because COVID already taught me that Ghana got a lot of money from COVID and everybody was stuck at home, not producing. Cities were closed, transportations were closed, restrictions were put on things. That means that money is coming, but people are not working. That's literally what that is. And that means that anything that we have now is going to go through inflation. So to me, one of the sectors that I ventured into was construction, right? So I invested a lot into heavy equipment, like what you have behind me here. So as you can see, that's a wheel loader. What you have there, that's a tipper truck. So I bought a lot of these guys. And what happens is, because contractors have money and government is pumping money into the economy, people had money to rent this. So within that session, I bought this and I was able to pay for it because business was good, right? So now those are paid for, and I was able to take advantage of that opening of government injecting more money into the economy. This is some of the opportunities as a businessman, as an entrepreneur. You need to look at this loop and be able to predict what is happening. I've been telling my friends, over and over about what is coming, the prices of things, how money is going to be very tight, and the time to take advantage of it. There are so many things that I did during COVID. COVID was actually one of my successful business careers. Not because I did government work, no, but because I saw the opportunity and I understood the economics of what all this borrowing or money that is coming into the country is going to have on me as a business person, and the opportunity and loophole that it creates. So if your government is borrowing and you're not producing, and farmers are still farming like they used to farm in 20, 50 years, and factories are rather shutting down instead of increasing production, when small businesses, restaurants, pubs, bars are closed down and they are not producing, then it should tell you that there is a dawn day ahead. And that's the opening where you actually open up to absorb some of that money and in through your business, right, and be able to make it in times like this, right? I know this video is taking long. I'm going to release another video talking to you guys now about what you can do in this current situation where inflation is off the root. What can you take advantage of? What should you prepare for? And if this is something that you like, please go ahead and subscribe to this channel, as we're going to continue sharing knowledge and my opinion literally on what is happening in the economy, in our government, in the business world, and money as well with you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again. Don't forget, inflation is happening. Make the smart decision and the smart choices from now on.